it's really also, it just gives you a greater awareness when you're doing that work with that intention. It brings back the awareness to, okay, I would say we all have opportunities and adversities coming at us all the time, very high speed in this world, and we don't have an awareness to it. So when you're doing this type of feng shui work, it awakens the awareness so you're able to recognize, hey, opportunity, or hey, that's an adversity, and here's how I'm going to work around it.
Welcome to Winning with Feng Shui. Join me, Candace, a certified Feng Shui practitioner, for a chat with Feng Shui experts from every walk of life. They'll share their inspirational stories of helping themselves and their clients achieve winning results and success using Feng Shui. Hey guys, I'm so excited today to introduce my guest. This is Lisa Alban. Lisa Alban asked the question, have you ever sensed there was something off even in your own home? As if there was an energy that felt overwhelming, uninspired, weighted down, or just out of place. Well, Lisa Alban, Feng Shui practitioner and quantum energy alignment practitioner, felt the same way too. She noticed it didn't matter if a life change was something to celebrate or one of the many unexpected twists and turns, but her heart was just not sitting right at home. At an early age, she discovered an interrelationship between her inner self and her spaces, and this sparked her current destined path. She dove in and learned everything she could about the art and science of Feng Shui and transcendental practices. Now she helps people just like you to create alignment and harmony using a system consisting of ancient and modern techniques. Lisa has been able to surf life's turbulence using Feng Shui and quantum energy techniques for many years, and she is supportive of high vibe entrepreneurial women. Aligning your authenticity with your space and cosmic energy is transformative, empowering, and can activate any home or workspace with attraction, abundance, and harmony. She currently works with clients in 3 impactful ways, providing Feng Shui design consultations, unique energy upgrade frequency alignments, and Feng Shui professional certification training. So say goodbye to feeling like you're unseen, unlucky, and unclear, and hello to realigning your life with purpose and passion. So get ready to irradiate abundance, joy, and awe with Lisa's inspiring guidance, intuition, and wisdom. Welcome, Lisa. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Oh, thank you so much, Candace. It's such always a joy to get to have some coffee with you and chat and talk feng shui.
Yes, it's fun. Have a little feng shui chat.
Yes, I
It's
love
always
it. I
fun.
love the mission behind your work. It's really inspiring, and it's good to bring everyone together.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for coming on. Yeah, so I know I was like, I need to get Lisa on here. I need to get Lisa on here. So again, you're my last like interview that I'm doing. So I'm glad, I was like, if she doesn't get on, I'll have to fill the slot in. So
Oh, I'm so
yes.
happy it worked out. Yeah.
So I'm glad I'm glad you were able to join today. So one of the things also you talk about, you kind of address, is the fact that you started doing feng shui, like you shifted to the professional part of doing feng shui, and that's a pretty interesting story. Can you tell us, like, first of all, how did you start? Like, how did you even discover feng shui, and then how did you kind of make that shift from that world to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so it's been a long journey, like it has been for many of us who are practicing feng shui professionally. I recognized at a very early age, and I was very blessed and lucky that my family was very supportive of me in recognizing that I had a very strong intuition. My grandfather and my grandmother expressed their lineage in having intuitive abilities and these senses that I was very sensitive to. You see, I had a very poor eyesight growing up, and I'm not sure if that contributed to my heightened other senses, but I didn't realize until a little bit further into grade school that I couldn't really see anything at a distance. But what I really had a keen sense of was the feeling of energy around all things. So I had a natural inclination and understanding of chi, life force energy. And I was always a researcher and kind of a book geek and nerd in science. And My parents would try to ask me questions. What is it that you're curious about? I was curious about defining auras and sensing and feeling auras. So my parents would play along with me. And by the way, too, I grew up, and oftentimes people think as a Feng Shui practitioner, I might, have, is it a religion? I hear that a lot. I grew up in a very Christian home in the Northeast, US. And my parents were still very encouraging of me to understand and develop more of these gifts and talents and senses that I had. So they would ask me, what is it that you're into learning? They got me books on dowsing. So I was dowsing at a very early age, and my dad would sit still and I would be able to see up until I'd say preteens, I was able to see the auras around people, and that dwindled and dwindled. And then, to a point where I don't see them anymore, but I still can sense. So we use dowsing tools, dowsing rods to confirm the energy, and learned a lot about, there's ley lines and energy, and dowsing is a tool that's used by professionals still today, but also spiritual dowsers. And that's something that I got into, was spiritual dowsing. I was very much into light reflection and refraction. And as you know, in Feng Shui, light is one of the greatest manifestations of qi. So I was very mesmerized by rainbows, the expression of light, the healing qualities of light. It wasn't until I'd say college, when I went to university, and I know I'm going to age myself now, but it was before the internet was a thing. So I couldn't Google. But I learned in college, I was always into advanced art classes. I was an honors art student, so on and so forth, and had gotten into design and psychology in college at one point. I changed several times, by the way. But in rooting through the books in the library, I did come across Feng Shui. And that was, really cool to me. I was like, this is very similar to what I've been experiencing growing up. I knew that I was able to produce better artwork in certain locations. I knew that I felt better with certain arrangements of my bedroom. And a lot of children realize this. I know now, having my two children, they have the same experiences. So I think that Feng Shui is something I learned that we all have within us, and a sense, but Feng Shui is it's like a language to be able to put together this understanding of our environments and our connections within the space. So in college, I found books on Feng Shui. I was kind of awakened to it, interested still a little more. Ended up moving to Florida, following synchronicities in life. I got major pulls in intuition. I needed to move to Florida. So I moved to Florida, and I still kept with me some Feng Shui techniques, not fully out as a Feng Shui practitioner at that time. I got into TV. So I was in corporate television for 20 years, lifestyle television. So I did everything from behind the camera to in front of the camera to management. And I managed broadcasting crews. That meant also giving the direction to what type of set spaces needed for TV presentations. And the crews started to say things to me, joking, Lisa's going to say this isn't very Feng Shui. And so I realized, okay, this is a little bit more part of me than I realized. And people are kind of like, embracing it, but also joking at the same time. Like, it is kind of like a bit of an obsession with me, and always has been, the orientation of spaces and energy, and how it be supporting, whether it be supporting the person going on camera, or the crews themselves, or just the experience that the people would feel at home. It was always important to me that the person at home watching the TV show either felt transported or at home and welcomed. So it needed to be something holistic for everybody as a part of the experience. So it just grew and grew. I got a little bit deeper into Feng Shui professionally. Around 2013, 2014, I was selling my home, and it had been sitting stagnant for a very, very long time. And I had done all the Feng Shui I knew to do, just for my own intuition and a few books that I had researched. And I, at that time, was very good at clearing, energy clearing and blessing. Well, I Googled at that time because by then we had the internet and Google, thank goodness. And I Googled Feng Shui for home sales in my area. And lo and behold, there was a master in this area about 40 minutes away from me, Steve Kodad. He's now my partner in the Intrinsic School of Feng Shui. And that took many years to develop. But I called him and I said, hey, you're not far from me. Will you come help me Feng Shui my home? And he did. He came, he did his consultation. I was so impressed. I enjoyed it. Of course, I just loved his energy. And I did a few of the recommendations that he brought with him in his report. And within 3 to 4 days, we got like beyond what the realtor could have expected in terms of an
Wow.
offer. So an investor was attracted to the house, had a scout go out. They, gave me a few $1,000s under what I was asking, but I asked for more. I continued to push for more, knowing the energy of the home, and ended up with being able to rent the home out. I mean, to myself, I was able to pay rent at the price that I was paying as a mortgage until I found a new home and attracted that into my space. And when we got to the closing table, it was like a win-win for all of us. At that same closing table, I closed on my new home, which is, pretty, at the time, it was very difficult, big celebration.
Awesome.
And the investor scout at the other end of the table said, tell me, like, how did you get the space? How did you get your home feeling so wonderful? He said, it felt like I was doing yoga in your house. And, I live in a very bohemian type beach home right now, but my previous home was, very modern, clean line, simple, yeah, modern architecture, I would say. Nothing about it to say yoga or feng shui necessarily outwardly. And I explained to him, well, I used feng shui, and he was like, wow, like amazing. So I went on following that to continue studying with Steve and got my certification as a feng shui staging professional, and loved it so much. I just continued to deep dive into that until, when was it? 2018, in the fall of 2018, in my corporate career. So I was kind of like doing feng shui on the side for others, just for friends and for fun and my own obsession. In 2018, the company I worked for merged and they didn't need my position any longer. So they couldn't have two of me in the merge. And I was 25 weeks pregnant. So I got merged out, got a great severance, and everything I needed to get set up and interviewed to get another great corporate gig. So that's what I did. I went out, started interviewing, but lo and behold, people really don't want you to be pregnant, even though it's against the law to, make that a thing. But I really was met with a lot of resistance in the corporate world. So I got back to basics with myself, really got grounded, sat down, wrote down everything I enjoyed, did everything that I learned in all my energetic work in terms of manifesting, and sat with it. And February 2019, beneath a supermoon, I was headed out to the birth center and got my daughter all buckled in the car. My husband was getting the bags in the car, and ended up catching my own child in the driveway of my home instead of making it to the birth center. And it was like the most empowering, significant moment of my life, that at that moment I realized, if I can do this, I can do anything. And there's no reason why I shouldn't be owning up to my authentic self and my self-worth and doing what I love best. So after that, and was the most amazing recovery ever, within 3 weeks, I got back together with Steve at a McDonald's with my son in his car seat or baby carrier. And I told him, I was like, I want to be full-fledged feng shui. And, what are your thoughts on this? And he was so encouraging. And in fact, he said, I've had a dream of starting a feng shui school. So at that moment, at that McDonald's, which had terrible feng shui, by the way, we both were like, this is terrible feng shui. We decided at that moment to start the school together, the Intrinsic School of Feng Shui. And I also, came to vision Cloud9 Feng Shui, which is my consultancy. And I rounded out my studies studying beneath James J. and Helen J. And then I became acquainted with the International Feng Shui Guild, and the rest is history. So here I am, 2.5 years later, with the two thriving business entities and the career of my dreams, really.
That's amazing. So yeah, I think if I gave birth in my driveway under the full moon, I think I would probably feel empowered to do anything too.
Yes, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
talk
that's an
about like
amazing
ripping the
story.
Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like, probably the biggest fear. And I was definitely like, I'm an epidural girl all the way. And I was willing to go to the birth center and everything and have midwives and that type of natural experience. But when you don't have the choice and you're just there to do it on your own, and instinctively, I told my husband to go into the house and get the toothbrush because I wanted to be by myself. But it must be like a primitive thing that happens. But it felt, and I'll say to you, I've shared this with you too. Coming from 25 years in the corporate world, I still have a big part of me that's very corporate. Um, but I'll say that moment really brought out more of the woo in me when I realized, like, okay, universe, like, I really believe now the universe has a sense of humor. So God, the universe, spirit, nature has a sense of humor. And if you're not going to listen, it's going to hit you on the head with, hello, lady, wake up. This is what you need to do. And so that was just a real awakening for me that, okay, if that's not a sign, what else is? Like, I don't want to see what's next. Steve and I, we decided to do our school, what was it, March of 2019, right after I had Benjamin. And I guess we didn't really come up with a name until July, but we really, got to know each other a little bit more than we did before, and while we were building our coursework and what we wanted to provide as a service and really, how we wanted to support our students. And that's why we decided, the word just while it came to me was like a download I get a lot is intrinsic, that inner and outer, that inside and out of feng shui. And that's very important to Steve and I, is we do as much of that inner work as we do of our surroundings to make sure that we're really aligning and tuning all of the energies and harmonizing. We know that everything, joy resonates at one frequency, and as does the color red, as does, something we may be trying to bring into our lives, is another frequency. And people can be high and low frequencies. Many times I know I'm on several frequencies throughout the day, but we really wanted to communicate that, right off the bat about our schools. Our lifestyle is feng shui inside and out. And that's what we really base our curriculum around, and supporting our students, coming to them as mentors to help them very easily integrate feng shui into their life. So it's just part of their day. I love the hexagrams. I love the I Ching. That's near and dear to my heart. I don't practice classical feng shui, but I did do quite a bit of studying of it. I seem to be drawn more to keeping things simple. I felt like I admire, and I would certainly go to a classical feng shui practitioner for my own needs, or I would love to even get deeper into it. But I like to keep things simple, practical, and streamlined. And not, I know it comes simply to people who practice classical, but this just came simpler to me. And that's why I kind of stuck with it. So I think, kind of back what we were talking about before is, your school that resonates with you will resonate with you and be easy for you. And that's how you know
Yes.
it's a good fit.
Yes,
Yeah. And
I
it's just another
agree.
language.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I've had practitioners tell me they've studied like both, and maybe they now do classical, or they just now do BTB, and so that's one of the things that I kind of talk about on my Learn Feng Shui podcast, that just really start simple I do the monthly workshops, like just start with putting your furniture in a room that feels good. Avoid the windows, avoid the beams overhead, just start simple. You don't have to
Yes.
start like, jumping in and learning all the hard things. That'll come later, that'll come
Yeah.
later when you're ready again, like you said, when you're ready.
Yeah, when you're ready and when you're called, because, and I think what's really valuable is within our community, within the International Feng Shui Guild, is we recognize that all schools of thought are accurate for whoever uses them.
Hmm.
As long as you are mindful of your intention and your practice that you're putting into place, it does, just because you're using one school doesn't mean the other wouldn't work, is what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
It's another approach. And I really love that about the International Feng Shui Guild because it's so inclusive and it allows us to work together on projects and collaborate and learn from one another. And it allows feng shui to adapt and evolve. And now that we are further connected internationally, just imagine what it'll look like in 20 years. I think the one thing that's just important out of everything that we do as practitioners is to always continually highly regard feng shui, no matter what we want to call it that we're doing.
Yes.
But to honor our our communities, our teachers, and the ancient, and also just welcome the possibilities and opportunities that modern affords too.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Be open-minded. Just be open-minded.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's really, I think it's cool. I'm excited to see what happens within our community, within the guild, and perhaps ways that we can bring more unity and just positivity to a world that really needs it
That
right
is one
now.
reason I do like the Feng Shui Guild. It is a very positive place where people are, they're like, oh, okay, what do you study? Okay, here's what I would do in that, situation.
I love
So
it.
the Feng Shui Guild
Yeah.
it's a nice community. It's a good one. It's a good
Yes,
one to
I
be a part of.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
one of the things I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on this, you kind of talked about as a kid how you were very intuitive. You kind of tapped into that. You felt like, but I feel like that's a lot of people's stories. They don't really realize as a kid, like the way they arrange their room. I remember doing this as a kid
Yes.
too, and I never kind of thought about it, but that's one of the ways I explain feng shui to people is that I'll tell them like, I'm sorry, have you ever moved your furniture and your space felt different? And so it
Right.
really is like just as simple as how does your space feel? How does your space
Yeah,
feel?
exactly. You're 100% correct. And that's one thing I make a big part of my practice too in my consultations is I don't get out a red pen and walk around someone's home or workplace and say like, uh-oh, why'd you do this? I never do that. What I do is go through and point out to them all of the things that they're doing intuitively correct so that when I'm able to give them the feedback and the report, they can trust more their intuition. And it's really just something, and this is what I teach my students too. I'm not a magician or I don't have like, I'm not superwoman. This is something that's within all of us. I just chose this as a life calling. But and for a lot of people it's just not as interesting to them, but I like to be able to equip my clients and my students just with the inner knowing that everybody has this like power, this superpower within them, and we know this because look at our children and how everybody can say their children, they've seen them do things that maybe they might have called odd, but if you really listen to them and instead of labeling them as odd, they really are very wise. And even as babies, I remember before I had children, I was babysitting someone's child just for a short time. I was like very anti-children at first, and so I only had to sit with this child for a little while, and he was a baby, like younger than 2, and he was able to sense that the rain was coming. Like he was very aware of the texture of the air and the weather and the what happens before rain. And I thought that was very advanced. to think about those, like we're talking about primitive abilities, but being able to sense and feel, it ties into a level of consciousness that it needs to, that isn't always, it's kind of like a sleeping consciousness, that's always collecting and receiving information, but is very, very primal and intuitive and smart. And we don't always listen to it, but it's that same level that gives us that, fight or flight, danger kind of thing, our senses. And so looking at our children and really paying attention to, okay, well, maybe if they're feeling an energy or feeling something, we should listen, because oftentimes they can realize whether someone's a good person or a bad person. My children can sense whether I've energy cleared the home, even if they're not present. They'll come home after a weekend and be like, oh, it feels so clear and clean in here. And like, I didn't get the cleaning materials, like all the, bleach out or anything. I did a clearing while they were gone. So our children, we all have this within us, the intention, the powerful intention, the powerful intuition. It's just, we get into the Groundhog Day of life and the routines, and boop, we forget about it, or then we start to label it as silly, or, something we saw in a movie or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I encourage people, if they're interested ever to learn more, just to listen, figure out their intuitive sense. It's different for everybody. Dowsing was a great way for me to reconnect to my intuition and my sensing, because it's a way to affirm through dowsing. What dowsing will tell you, like a gut check, it'll confirm yes or no. And so once I, really got back into my dowsing, it just turned all those intuitions back on. I still don't see auras like I did when I was a little girl, but I feel my intuition and my downloads of like how to proceed further really come to me very much clearer. I was lucky to be raised by my parents like that they recognized and encouraged it, and I am aiming to continue that with my children. But yeah, like, maybe if you think back to when you were younger, and one story that comes to mind to me that my parents like always joke about, I was in high school and I was getting into like, the fringe side of circles of friends. And I was at a party, of course, in high school, and there was alcohol, and it was probably like one of my first parties I went to where there was alcohol. And I just got this really strong inner knowing that I needed to leave. So, I think it was before cell phones. So I had a landline, I called my mom. I was like, I'm at this party, will you come get me? Well, when she pulled up, the party had gotten, out of hand, and police had been there. And she was like, how did you know this was going to happen? And anyway, so that's just like one thing we can teach our children. Like, if you're in a situation, intuition's a real thing, and listen to it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So talking of like intuition and everything, talk about, so I want to hear a story, like your favorite feng shui story, maybe, that intuition kicked in and you felt like, they need to do this in their home or whatever. And it was, really impactful. So I don't know if it's whether it's you or a family member or, your client. So tell me your favorite feng shui story.
Hmm. I mean, the most recent feng shui story I have is of my own, because I work with so many clients sometimes, that like story that like a hairdresser doesn't do their own hair kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
yes.
I mean, I have like, yeah, I have my rituals I do every day, and rituals meaning not like, I don't go through all of the deep feng shui rituals every day, but part of my routines involve feng shuiing my space to a certain degree, starting in the morning and throughout the day. But I don't do an evaluation of my property every day. And in fact, I'm probably overdue for one that, I would like to bring another pair of eyes on besides mine, because we become nose blind to our own space and we don't even realize things have gotten, away from us, and that only someone else is going to see. And I think that's, where a feng shui practitioner is very valuable. to have that outside perspective and look at things a little bit closer. And I was saying too, so I have a Facebook group that I manage, and it's around high vibe entrepreneurial women. And I do integrate some feng shui tips in there, but we talk about our wins and our losses and things that we're trying to overcome. And I had been experiencing a lack of creativity in my projects, where I'm known for my creativity and my resourcefulness. And I had some client projects I really just got stuck or stagnant in. And I'm like, why is it not flowing? This is something that never happens to me. And I love these clients. I love their spaces. Why am I not getting this like, aha thing? And I didn't I should have done an assessment of my property, because I found I was ignoring something in my home, my creativity and children area. Well, part of it contains my daughter's bedroom, part of it contains our bathroom. And, bathroom's got to go somewhere. And I noticed a couple weeks ago that I kept cleaning up a spot of water. And the spot of water was, it was next to a piece of metal in the bathroom, and I thought it was condensation, or I thought it came out of the children's bathtub. And I was just like wiping it up with a tissue and not thinking anything of it. Well, come to find out, there was a copper pipe beneath the bathroom that had a leak and was springing up underneath, and the toilet needed to be replaced. I live in a 1950s beach cottage, so about time to get these copper pipes replaced. But I realized this little drop of water got bigger and bigger and bigger. And finally, I reached out to a plumber. I was like, can you just come? I might be crazy. It might just be water from the bathtub. And he discovered the leak, repaired the toilet. And sure enough, that's what it was. I was having an energy draining away from my creativity and children gua. And I was like, duh, as a feng shui practitioner, if I was sitting with a client and they were telling me their challenges, that's one of the first places I would look, if they were telling me they were experiencing those difficulties in their, in their projects. So that's the most recent, like feng shui affirmation, it works kind of thing to me. But I would say each client and each project has something special, and just really brings me a lot of joy knowing that I'm very honored and blessed to be able to do this for a living. And I mean, I really think it's an under sought out profession that more people would really enjoy, because it helps your clients, it helps you. And I think it just adds more.
Yes, I agree. I agree. That's one of the biggest things I think that people do need to look at, is those little home repairs that you kind of let go. That makes a
Yeah.
big point, I think. I know I always go through at my house. I'm like, what? Same thing the other day. It was just one of the sink, I guess that P trap that, goes. I was like, why is it wet under the sink? You know?
Yeah.
And it was just a
Yeah.
simple, like, we didn't have to call a plumber, thank God. So we didn't have to do that.
Yes.
But yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the biggest things people can start with. People ask like where to start. I'm like, just start again, simply, easily, but start with home repairs. Start with those home repairs where you see that, broken door or those window or whatever. Start in those little
Yes.
areas and just notice the change really in the way your house feels.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's really also, it just gives you a greater awareness when you're doing that work with that intention. It brings back the awareness to, okay, I would say we all have opportunities and adversities coming at us all the time, very high speed in this world, and we don't have an awareness to it. So when you're doing this type of feng shui work, it awakens the awareness, so you're able to recognize, hey, opportunity, or hey, that's an adversity, and here's how I'm going to work around it.
Somebody want to learn more about Feng Shui,
Yeah.
how can they find you? How can they find your school? I'll link everything below. But yeah,
Okay.
I want you to talk a little bit about your school real quick.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. I was talking a little bit earlier about how I feel feng shui as a profession. is overlooked and kind of passed over, or just not even considered or visible out there. One thing I like about the International Feng Shui Guild is it gives more visibility to the practice and the profession. And that's why I and Steve, my partner in the Intrinsic School of Feng Shui, we chose to become affiliated with the International Feng Shui Guild and be listed in that directory because of their inclusiveness and because of their mission. And so the Intrinsic School of Feng Shui, you can find us online and learn a little bit more about our school to see if it resonates with you or anyone out there. And we offer a wide range of topics. We specialize in helping people join the profession of Feng Shui on various levels, whether they are just interested in, and I'm not saying just interested, but some people might at this time in this very hot real estate market want to be a stager with Feng Shui certification. That's an option. If you want to DIY Feng Shui for yourself, you can just take the self-guided video course that we have. And if you want to go on further to do what I do as a professional, and if what I do aligns with anyone out there, my approach or my personality, we offer certified intrinsic Feng Shui professional certification. We're a gold standard school. We have over 43 hours worth of content and growing, and offer continual support, our own community. And we feel it's very, very important that we help equip our students with starting their business. So we give a toolkit, how to start the business, how to get it going, how to find your clients, and network, really great. So we're continually adding to our curriculum and our continuing education, where we allow our students to attend our classes for life as long as we're giving them. So if anyone's an alumni of our school, they can also pop into a day one course if they want to get a refresher or just to meet new people. And it's really, it's a great joy and adds a lot to my life to have this just fun community. I'm partial to entrepreneurs. So I love that people are able to, in Feng Shui, carve out their own niche and really awaken what makes them unique and stand out and feel seen. And so no two of my graduates in the Intrinsic School, no two of them are alike. Each of them is thriving in their own way with the Feng Shui integration into their existing business, or are they set out as a practitioner on their own? Everyone has their own take. And that's what really is very, very cool. Yeah, so I love that about it. Steve and I are both red ribbon level professionals within the International Feng Shui Guild. So we do recognize and adore the other schools of thought too. We don't dismiss anyone from wishing to learn that and go further, but we're into simplicity and practicality. Steve is very much even more so the practical data. He has a background in teaching and real estate. And I'm a little bit more of the woo side, even though I have a corporate background in management, business marketing and lifestyle marketing is my kind of thing. But that's what makes us a really cool combination. Is it's like we always say, like a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll in our method. We're just like a good combo in relaying the info and switching it up. It's good to have a mixture so you're not listening to the same. But yes, you can contact us on our website, the Intrinsic School. Well, it's Intrinsic School of Feng Shui.com, and learn more. And you can also access it through my website for my consultancy, which is cloud9fengshui.com. And so within cloud9fengshui.com, you can find out more about my Feng Shui for home, Feng Shui for business and my energy upgrades, Facebook community, and deep dive into energy alignment.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So yes, if you are interested in learning more, please check out all of Lisa's work, which will be linked below, social medias and everything. We'll put that below. Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on today. I really
Thank
appreciated
you.
you, and I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you so much, Candace. It's
Thank
been a
you.
complete honor and joy, and thank you for all that you're doing for everyone, for the Feng Shui community and those that are interested, and getting the word out there. And I can't wait to hear you do your own interview
Oh, thank you.
and
Yeah.
hear your story. Yeah, I would love to do that for you right now, but but yeah, I'll have to tune in. So yeah, I'll wait for
Yes.
that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I think it
Wow.
had a lot to do with the meditation mindset work I was doing. I did a lot of grounding. And I think it just made my laboring process so easy that I didn't even realize that it was as progressed as I had,
Yeah.
as it had been.
Yes.
I think I was just so centered, grounded, and had an inner confidence, or part of my consciousness was confident, even though I still had part of it that was scared as heck.
Yeah, it can be a scary thing. I was trying to have an epidural when I had my daughter, and we didn't have time. So I feel you on the no medication thing. No, that was an accident. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, Superwoman. Yes.
I
Yes.
didn't want to. I wasn't trying to do it. I was trying, but yeah, again, like you said, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes things just align, and yeah, I don't think there's anything more powerful than bringing a life into the world. So it's really
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It
does open up
certainly.
something like primal. Whether it's C-section or whatever. It's just like,
Yes.
wow, there's this life that you know came from me. It is something primal and spiritual. Something. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
an amazing experience. Wow, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's
Oh, well,
amazing.
thank you for allowing me the
Yeah.
space to tell the story. And yeah, it just feels like, I think a lot of us in feng shui, we do have these like long stories of growth and journey and transformation. And that's what makes us such great resources for others. Is just that empathy we get from those experiences.
Yeah, I think people, they definitely, I think whenever you look at somebody that is like whether it be like a spiritual leader, but somebody that's supposed to make a change, like the energy work, stuff like that, you're like, oh, their life must be wonderful. They're in tune, or but man, we've been through some shit. We really have. I mean, yeah. So I think that's one of the reasons that, one of the places I've come from where like trying to improve my environment to fix things in my life that you're going through. And so you think, how do I fix this? Well, let's start with my feng shui. But then when you get to it, it's not just your the feng shui, which is just your environment. It's and here it's patterns we create. It's our preconceived notions, our self limitations, and everything. That has
Yes.
to all be addressed too. To contact Lisa, be sure to visit the links in the show notes below. To support the channel, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell so you can be alerted when new videos come out. To learn more about Feng Shui and Chinese metaphysics, go to learnfengshui.com.